Welcome back to NC Grass Plugs. I am Paul, and today we're tackling a large plugging project in my front yard. If you remember last year, we planted some compadre plugs where I pulled up a tree. We also planted El Toro plugs along the road. The Meyer Zoysia, that was healthy, was looking good. However, we had a very large area of die off from the drought we had last year. That drought was hiding the grub damage, and we didn't know it until it was way too late. I mean, it was already dead. That might have been about a third of my yard that was dead. So what I decided to do back in February was throw some compadre plugs in those dead spots. They were doing fine. However, I decided that this was probably my one and only chance to get rid of the Meyer Zoysia and level the yard at the same time. So what we did was hired a gentleman to come over here with his power rake and remove the Meyer the best he could. You know, the thatch was very thick. What was important to me was that we ended up having a level surface, as level as we could get it, and bring that grade back down to the level of the cement. It was not that way before. So what we're looking at is from this corner all the way to basically where you see the green grass right here. We jumped across the ditch. We knocked down a hill on that ditch bank, and then from the very bottom of the ditch back towards the camera all the way to this corner, a little bit around this tree, and just right here in this corner. What I did was 2 or 3 days ago, I decided I was going to spray glyphosate on it and go ahead and kill off whatever zoysia remained. So what we're doing is we're going about 14 inches apart on the plugs in a straight line, and then come over 12 or 14 inches and offset the next row, and we'll do the whole yard. As part of a nursery, you have plants that you can't sell, plants that aren't established yet, and that's what we are planting in the yard. All right, we are done. It took us about 3 hours to do the entire front yard. It's about 9,000 square feet. I'm gonna get out here and show you kind of how it looks right now and what we need to do to take care of it. And we're gonna bring update videos back so you can see how this grow-in is going throughout this summer and how much we can actually get done. So let's go take a look in the yard and see how well it looks, so you know what to expect if you plug. All right, so you can see the rows of plugs that we put in. You can see the amount of shade we have underneath this old oak tree here. And we've got it all the way to the front corner here, and then from the bottom of this ditch all the way back to me. You can see we had 4 people plugging. We had about 150 trays of plugs that we used to do this much area. Some of the plugs are pretty tight, some of them are more spaced apart. So stick around. This summer we'll bring you updates every 2 or 3 weeks. Okay, so what do you do to take care of a plug once you put it in the ground? Well, if you're starting with bare dirt, basically like what we have, the ground is going to dry out very fast, especially, on these hot days. So we need to make sure we water thoroughly, at least once a day. And we want those root balls on those plugs to not really dry out to the point that the plant is struggling for water. So we'll kind of eyeball it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to practice what I preach because I don't have the water to put on the front yard and run the nursery too. So I'm going to water what I can when I can. I'm waiting on my 12 starter fertilizer to come in. Once that gets here, we're going to get that out. My plugs, as always, are well fertilized, and I do use biostimulants as I'm growing it. And we just had the RGS put on there, and the fertilization was done 2 nights ago. So about 36 hours ago, which is fine. I don't need to go back and do it right this minute on the yard. So we're going to make sure we keep it watered. If you see any weed pressure in your lawn, you can hand pick it. I did not put any prodiamine down prior to this plugging. Prodiamine is not going to hurt your plugs. However, when you get a stolon that runs across the top of the ground and it wants to tack a root down, it's going to really prevent that root from tacking down. And I don't really need that right now. So we're going to leave that like it is. We're going to water as much as we can. We're going to hit it with some fertilizer. And every couple of weeks, I'm going to hit it with a half dose of the sea kelp, which is RGS or Cytogrow or whatever you're using as a biostimulant to help with the rooting process. Now we look at fertilization and people say, well, how much fertilizer can I put down? How much do you put down? You can follow the application rate on the bag, on the bottle. However, I'm going to push it really hard because I want this lawn grown in by the end of summer. It's going to be difficult because we did space a lot of these. Some of these are 18-inch plus spacing, and some of them are closer, some of them are further, but it's fine. I have no problem with it, and I think we can get the majority of this lawn grown in just a few months, which is pretty rapid for a zoysia, but time will tell. Check back in. We're going to bring some updates every so often throughout the summer, and I'm showing you what I'm doing. I want you to see this grow in. I want you to build confidence if you are interested in plugging. I get a lot of people that don't understand how it works, how long it takes, any of that stuff. So I want to show it to you on a larger scale, not just a spot. And if you have any questions, you can always add them down in the comments and I'll take care of it. Until next week, I will see you soon.